Right, so what to do with your money in perilous times? The first thing is what to invest in and in what proportions. Now for a disclaimer. I'm not any sort of investment guru. All I'm going to tell you is exactly what I do or have done. And whether you wish to follow what I say or not is entirely up to you. However, I think it makes sense, and if you look around and do your own research on the internet, then you will find that a lot of other people recommend the same things. First of all, some definitions. When I say gold, I mean physical gold in coins or bullion. Coins being a lot easier to sell, especially in bad times, than bullion. Do not invest in paper gold. It's worthless. Silver, exactly the same things apply. When I say cash, I mean real cash, as in banknotes, and in medium-sized notes, say 20s. Now I'm trying to be independent of whether it's the dollar or the pound. Obviously I'm British, so some of the examples are in pounds. Good stocks. Well, what do I mean by good stocks? Stocks that traditionally do well during or after a recession. So what are these? Dollar or pound stores. Everyone wants something cheap when they've got no money. Staple food processors and suppliers. Nobody wants luxuries, so people who produce flour, people who produce the real staple goods that are required for the population to feed itself. Essential medical suppliers, not plastic surgeons, but companies that produce staple drugs like aspirin, for example. Companies that provide staple medical services, not billion-dollar hospitals. Okay? So having got that out of the way with, how do I structure my investments? Well, it really depends on what you've got to invest. And this is purely my recommendation, as I said. Now, don't take it. Do your own research. But here, basically, is what I have done and would do. For 10,000, whether it's pounds or dollars, doesn't matter. 4,000 in gold, 3,000 in silver, 2,000 in cash, and 1,000 in good stocks. Now the gold is basically a hedge against everything losing its value, because gold never does. Historically, it has never lost 100% of its value. Almost everything else has, apart from silver, which is why I'm also including silver. And the price of silver is more likely to rise a lot higher than gold, according to a lot of pundits. Okay, but it's more volatile than gold. So hey, 2,000 in cash. Why cash? Well, you're going to need something in the period while cash is still worth something, just in case your bank account gets frozen and there's a bank holiday and they don't let you draw out any money. And some good stocks. This is really for the longer term. This is for as the recession, if you like, goes away, or the crash. Now for £100,000 or $100,000, 50,000 in gold, 25,000 in silver, 20,000 in good stocks, and 5,000 cash. And I wouldn't recommend ever having more than 5,000 cash, because cash is only going to be useful to you if things really go wrong for a limited period of time. Now, you might start to worry about the size of the space that you're going to need but I'll talk about that in a minute, and don't worry about it. For £1 million, whether it's pound or dollars, 500,000 invested in low rent properties. Why low rent? Well, low rents have less far to fall than high rents. Seems obvious, but it's true. If there's a recession, the fancy house that now rents for 4,000 or 5,000 a month, people can't afford to pay it. So what do you think happens to the value of it? Drops like a stone. The apartment that someone can rent for 500 or 600 a month, that's still going to be maybe affordable, or maybe the rent will drop by 25 or 50 even percent, but it's still going to be worth something. So low rent property, 300,000 in gold, 100,000 in silver, 95,000 in good stocks, once again 5,000 in cash. Now I said I'd talk about the amount of space needed to store it, and I'm going to talk about the worst case, which is £1 billion sterling. So let's have a look. Physical sizes. Now obviously dollars would be smaller. £300,000 worth of gold. It's under 12 kilos. That's about 25, 26 pounds. So you're talking about a cube less than 100 millimeters, that's 4 inches, on a side. That's if it's in bullion. If it's in coins, it will be slightly larger, but not much. 100,000 in silver. Well, here you start to get serious weight. That's 250 kilos, about as much as a large adult. The cube size is only around 280 millimeters, a bit less than a foot, on a side. 5,000 in cash, in 20s, 2 2-inch high stacks of notes. So you get the whole lot into the space of a small suitcase, but that suitcase would be really, really heavy, and you wouldn't want to lift it. But my point is, it's all hideable. It's all doable, even in large quantities. This idea of, millions of dollars taking up huge rooms full of gold bricks, it's all wrong. So what do you do with this physical stuff once you've got it? Do you guard it, or do you hide it? Well, if you're paying someone to guard it, then in order to stop them from running away with your valuables, if something nasty does really happen, then you're going to have to be paying them an awful lot. And do you really trust them that much? And people have had this experience where a wealthy guy has had, say, £250,000 worth of bullion, or £500,000 worth of bullion, has gone away on holiday, leaving it with security guards. Comes back, it's gone, the guards are gone. There's always that situation. So my recommendation really to you would always be to hide. And I'd suggest that you split it, so you hide, unless it, of course it's on the 10,000 side, then you can probably do all internal hides. But hide some, all of the cash, maybe 20% of the gold and silver, in an easy to get at place, which might be internal to your home, might be a garage adjoining your home, could be a vehicle, could be somewhere in the grounds, could be in the shed, wherever, but somewhere where you can get at it within minutes. And I'd say hide the remainder away from the home, and possibly in more than one place. So what's the best place to hide things internally? Well, there's an awful lot of videos that you'll find on hiding stuff, mostly drug dealers. But anyway, inside furniture with metal tubular features is always a favourite. Suspend something or other, a package of coins or whatever, on a string down inside a bed leg or table leg or wherever. That's always a good one. It's not very obvious. In dummy pipes or electrical trunking, you can get self-adhesive electrical trunking, and it's used in a lot of properties. and you'd be surprised exactly how much you can hide in electrical trunking. Behind electrical or gas meters, now this requires tools to get at, and it requires a little bit of bravery sometimes as well, but it's a good hiding place, unlikely to be found even if someone does a really good search of your property. Inside hollow doors. Most hollow doors are internal. Take the top off the door, scoop out some of the peculiar cardboardy stuff inside, and put in whatever you want to hide. In scooped out hollows in architectural woodwork, and this has been used quite a lot. This used to be an old mafia hiding place for various things, and basically you take the surround, for example, off a door frame, you scoop out some hollows in it, you put coins, or in the mafia's case ammunition, and bits of guns inside. You can do the same with skirting that goes around the bottom of the walls, picture rails. There's a lot of architectural woodwork, windowsills and so on. Inside smoke or carbon monoxide detectors. Now there's often an awful lot of wasted space inside these things that bolt onto your ceiling. Why not use it? Same goes obviously for lighting fittings. Inside low value electronics. Why do I say low value? Well, if you put it inside your $20,000 flat screen TV, then there's a good chance it might get stolen, and they might look inside and find an extra $100,000 bonus. So you don't want to put it inside something that's easily going to get stolen. And another popular favourite is underneath the gravel in a fish tank. And I'm sure you can think of lots more, and obviously you can Google to find out loads more ideas of where to put things. Best external hides, well, these are ones I've had experience of, and these are my two favourites. Blind bury is absolutely the top favourite, especially if you're burying something very valuable, because blind buries have been known to last for thousands of years. In fact, in the UK, the Celts buried an awful lot of hoards of gold and jewellery and other things, and every few years some metal detectorists dig one up, and so these last for thousands of years. And the way to do it really is to choose a blank plain area. It's unlikely to be flooded, unlikely to be built on, no trees because you don't want root action pushing your stuff out of the ground, no rabbit holes for the same reason, you don't want rabbits digging it up. And the field must have a permanent landmark on one edge, or some sort of identifiable thing that you can pace away from. It needn't even be near the field, it could be a distant hill or lining up to other things, whatever. So you pace out a set number of paces in a particular compass direction, and make sure you use a compass for this. Don't rely on, oh, I think that's north. Then dig a hole a minimum of 24 inches deep. Why 24 inches? Well, it's deeper than people are going to plough. If a farmer comes along and ploughs a field, or if someone's just digging around, then they're unlikely to go more than 24 inches deep. Be aware, bring a bag with you, because you're going to have to take away a volume of soil at least equivalent to what you're burying. Place the item in the hole, fill in just a few inches at a time, and as you fill in each few inches, stamp it down really hard to compact it. Water the top layer before you put the turfs in, or the weeds or whatever you've taken off the top back in, so that they continue growing. And finally, you don't want those pesky metal detectors digging it up, so scatter a few hundred non-ferrous items, and maybe a few ferrous items as well, that's iron items, some ring pulls, bits of aluminium cans, some copper nails, cheap coins, you know, like pennies or cents or whatever, and put them in about 100-foot wide area around the buried item. And metal detectorists will pretty soon got fed up with digging up rubbish and move on somewhere else. Then finally write down the location, because you're only human. If you come back in 4 years' time, you may very well forget all of this. So write it down. Maybe write it down in several places, but don't write it down in a very obvious way. Write it down in a way that means something to you. And finally, a tricky place, and this is difficult because a lot of places come into this heading. A place that's difficult to get to, or maybe only you can get access to it because you've got, it's locked away. This could be out in the open, or it could be in a building, or maybe it's somewhere that requires equipment to be brought, like the fork of a tree that's 80 feet up in the air. You need to have a rope. Now, if you want some really good ideas on tricky places to hide things, then just Google hidden geocache. There is a group of people who go around leaving clues to hidden containers, and it's a whole sport. But there's nothing to stop you from using some of their exceptionally good ideas to hide your stuff as well. Well, I hope this has been of some use to you, and it gives you an idea of the sort of thing that I've done with my money to keep it safe. And the reason that I've done this is that I've had some bad experiences. I just plain do not trust banks anymore. I do not trust pension companies. I had a pension that was fully paid up from one of my employers. It was done as a reward for certain services that I did, and it was supposed to be worth £120 to £140 per week. Now, this was fully paid up, which means I didn't have anything else to put into it. Well, after the government deregulated pensions and there were 2 stock market crashes, guess what it's worth now? Around about £10 a month. Now, if I had done what I do now with all that money that went into that pension, I would be sitting pretty. As it is, at the moment I can't afford to retire, and so I'm very sensitive to things that could impact my savings. So if you found this useful, please like, please share, and please subscribe. Thank you very much.